What was the best moment you've seen where the real world hit a spoiled rich kid? This kid. He was a 17-year-old in my dad's hometown that was known for driving fast and being an all-around pss on the road. He had multiple speeding tickets and a DUI on record. At 17. The DUI incident was actually a car crash that totaled his car and led to him having his jaw wired shut. So what do his parents do? They give him his license back and buy him a brand new car, which I'm pretty sure was a WRX, which crashed into a utility truck, killing himself, his sister and her friend while doing almost twice the speed limit on a residential road. Sucks for the sister and friend. Knew a rich kid whose parents bought a car for and he treated it like absolute garbage, purposely driving it really hard and generally abusing it, confident in the notion that his parents would buy him the one he wanted after he destroyed the one they got him. Well, they didn't buy him another one. Ever. He rode the city bus and bummed rides off of friends after that. He was the most entitled pss I'd ever met. If he was over at your house he would just help himself to whatever was in the fridge, like it was some sort of paid buffet. I saw Justin Bieber throw up fit and end up not getting what he wanted. We have quarterly team building exercises at my company where you basically go and play minigolf or some other activity capped at 25/person. Sometime between 2009 and 2011, I really can't remember exactly, my group just decided to go for a fancy lunch in downtown Portland. After lunch we took one of our coworkers to the semi-famous Nike store, which was a couple of blocks away, and that was the day Justin Bieber happened to show up. When he and his entourage arrived he said something somewhat loudly along the lines of, "You're going to have to leave for a bit cause I'm here to do some shopping," and some of his people acted like they were going to try and politely force the already present customers out of the store so Bieber could shop alone, but the Nike employees even more politely told him that was not possible. At that point Bieber lost it. I mean, he threw a total tantrum because they wouldn't shut down the store for him. The tantrum didn't work and he and his folks left in a huff. That's really my only celebrity in the wild encounter and it's freaking lame. Justin Bieber came to town and requested a game of ice hockey with our city's team on their off day. They rounded up all these guys and got TV stations out there and everyone working just for him. He didn't even show up. Spoiled rich kid showed up to school in a 325,000 sports car. He was showing off, lost control of the car, and drove it through a brick wall and totaled it. Dad buys a rich kid a Mercedes. It was pinkish salmon colored, so the kid pss about it. Dad took it away, sold it, and never bought him another car. Rich brat had to buy his own. Saw a college guy with a ridiculously expensive car, can't remember the model, rear end this woman who drove an absolute beater. Her car was definitely totaled and his wasn't looking that hot either. He got out and started screaming at this woman. She was in tears. He kept telling her that she was going to pay for this. When the cops came, I saw each of them give their statements. After that, me and like 10 people came forward and gave our witness statements. It sounded like each and every one of us put complete fault on him, which was the truth. When the cops went back to him, I saw his face just sink. He probably told them it was her fault and just found out that 2 handfuls of people just confirmed that he's full of pss. I've never seen that many witnesses stick around for a simple traffic accident. I think the other people felt the same way I did. That kid was a douche and should be punished for what he did. Not sure what the law is elsewhere, but here in Australia, if you rear end someone, you're automatically in the wrong for not leaving appropriate stopping distance except for under very specific circumstances. One of my college roommates was very rich growing up. I didn't realize just how rich until I had to explain to her what a coupon was in very extensive detail. On multiple occasions she bragged that she wasn't even interested in her major, philosophy, or college in general, but she was at uni because her parents were requiring her to get a degree, any degree, in order to get access to her trust fund. I don't remember ever seeing her go to class and she eventually got expelled sophomore year over academic dishonesty. I guess this was the last straw for her parents because they cut her off pretty soon after that. This actually served as a wake-up call. She somehow managed to get a public health degree at a different school in spite of the academic dishonesty listed on her transcript. She's doing pretty well for herself these days. We've kept in touch and last we talked she was considering grad school. That's a nice wholesome ending. Far more wholesome than most of the stories in this thread because the spoiled rich kid actually learned something. Local business owner puts son through college and more. When kid graduates with multiple degrees, dad decides to retire and turn over business to son. Son brings college cronies on board. Has management all wear white cowboy hats and drive white pickups. Begins revamping business. Dad comes out of retirement pronto. Gets rid of son and cronies. Years later bankrolls son's run for state rep. The son lost. Dad dies and leaves business to daughter. Here's a successful local doctor/politician expects son to attend medical school and become doctor. Son opts out. Gets job with new company called Costco, pumping gas. He's been with that company ever since. Just his regular pay raises and bonus checks give him a good life. He just didn't want the high stress life his dad had. This is the exact opposite of the plot of Step Brothers. Well, Dale has always coasted off my accomplishments. I mean, he left college his junior year because he said he wanted to join the family business. But you're a medical doctor. Believe me, I've told him that. But he just always says it's all about who you know. Oh, I have one. I used to work at Starbucks and there was a girl that was just newly hired and in training. Mind you, she was 20 years old and her parents made her get a job. She grew up in a very wealthy family. On her first or second day, I had instructed her to do the dishes to help catch us up for closing. She looked at me with these lost eyes and told me she doesn't know how. Apparently she grew up with housemates and literally has never cleaned a dish in her entire life. I had to teach her step by step how to clean a dish. But she learned on the job instead of throwing a tantrum and walking out. She's got that going for her. About 10 years ago I was having a pint with a friend of mine. His family's gold, I swear. I mentioned I was struggling with rent and bills while in college and he just said, "Get your mum to pay for it then, mate. She's disabled and we've never had real money." He instantly realized what he said and did feel bad about it. I think it was the first time he really understood that not everyone has their parents to lean on financially. It's good that he realized so fast. Most people in that position are happy staying ignorant. I'll never forget going to see the financial aid advisor at my school to see if I could figure out some kind of payment plan because I couldn't afford to finish the semester, and he told me I should just ask my parents for help. It's one thing for a privileged rich kid to not fully understand what it's like to come from a lower income family, but my college's financial advisor? That's your whole job. This is not the best, as it's pretty sad and frankly undeserved, but a good example of the question asked. I went to a very expensive private elementary school. A friend of mine grew up very wealthy. Her father a surgeon and mother a stay-at-home wife. They were very controlling of her and quite honestly, a little scary. They sheltered her to the extreme and she frequently repeated insane things they said verbatim because that was all she knew. If she was told to clean her room but left an item out upon her parents' inspection, they would throw the item out, no matter what it was. Once it was something very sentimental to her, can't remember what it was, and when she told me and I expressed sympathy, she said something like, "Oh no, it's okay. It's my fault. If I told my children to clean their rooms, but they didn't, and had their friends come over, their friends would go home and tell their parents about how much of a slob my family is, and that can't happen." This was her concern at 10 years old. When it came time for college, they sent her to an expensive, hard to get into school and told her that her sole purpose there was to find a husband, specifically a doctor or an engineer, to keep her as a stay-at-home wife. She flat out told me this was her only purpose, which broke my heart because she is a smart person who was able to get into said school to begin with and her parents should have been encouraging different goals for her. Well, she found a boyfriend, but at the end of her 4 years of undergrad, he turned out to be a cheating narcissistic douchebag. The narcissistic douchebag part was obvious to me from the get-go, but she had no idea what a healthy relationship looked like. However, the cheating was obvious enough to be a deal breaker. So instead of going straight to marriage, which disappointed her parents and they kicked her out of the house, she suddenly had to become solely independent, find a job and an apartment, and is doing well for herself. She's a totally different person now and has come a really long way. Undeserved is a bit on an understatement. Jesus was 100% on the parents. Even the kid came out perfectly fine. Just that the parents didn't need to have be such ps, and she wouldn't have had to be featured on this thread at all. Somewhat distant relative spent all of his university years and 20s partying hard with the 120k allowance his rich company owning father gave him each year. He'd travel the world each year, going to Bali, Thailand, Europe, every year Oktoberfest, just rampaging. At 32 or so he decided to settle in upscale ski resort area of the US and open a business with his hot gold digger fiancée. When he went to transfer his money to his US bank account, he noticed it only came to a few $1,000s. He angrily asked the bank worker why she hadn't transferred the entire amount, only to be told that that was the entire amount. His father had cut him off without saying anything and he just hadn't noticed. Absolute flatline. And then, I need more. Heavy drugs, self-pity, and finally recovery with only a small side dish of enlightenment. While working in a casino here in Las Vegas, a herd of girls came to my window, and one proceeded to tell me about her great birthday party itinerary that her dad had paid for her 18th birthday, with no adult in the party. Just a bunch of teenage girls, out in Vegas, where none of them could do anything, because none of them were 21. I couldn't even check them into their reservation. They start yelling and screaming at me. I calmly call security, and security tells them they can either go play in the arcade or leave, and try to find a hotel off the strip that will take them and out being 21. The anger turns to tears. The security guard is unmoved. That's their parents' fault. A stupid 18th birthday gift. People do it all the time, though. Lol. Really? I mean, I feel like any single person who has been to Vegas knows that it's kinda ps unless you are 21 with some cash to burn. Currently living in Vegas. I'm 19. It's not fun unless you're 2 or 21, because there's not much to do for those in between.